My dad passed away 6 months ago and I just found his disturbing deathbed confession. I want to tell my sister but it would break her heart. So my dad passed away 6 months ago after a long and hard battle with cancer, which he contracted not long after his wife, our mother, passed away. Seeing him after our mother passed away was hard. It was almost like his life lost all meaning. That's what makes this confession all the more shocking and heartbreaking. You see, my father and my mother had this undying love that I feel every person in the world should experience and enjoy, because no matter how old they got, they cuddled, they kissed, they held hands and went on romantic getaways, somehow seeming to never lose that spark for each other. I remember as a kid my father surprising my mother with flowers often, buying her chocolates and little gifts randomly, making her handmade drawings. He literally learned origami so he could make swans for her as they were her favorite animal, and each birthday would give her a swan colored in differently until he had a color beginning with every letter of her full name. My sister noticed this more. While I thought it was cute that our parents were couple goals, my sister admired it more than anything. She would talk about it so much, tell her friends how amazing our parents' relationship was, and would always say that unless she meets a man who treats her how dad treats mom, she doesn't want it. Our father never yelled, never screamed, was the most calm man in the world, despite standing at 6'7" and weighing close to 250 pounds. He was a gentle giant. The one time I saw him get angry was when as a family when walking down the street, two passersby grabbed my mother's hair and yanked it as a joke. My dad proceeded to beat them to a pulp there and then. I remember that moment so well, it encapsulated everything my dad was. The most tender and loving man, but one who would always defend his wife. So, onto the letter. I was cleaning out my dad's attic recently when I stumbled upon a letter. I opened it as I was curious, and when I read it my world shattered. The gist of the letter read, "Dear whoever finds this. Most likely my son or daughter. I'm sure you miss me and miss your mother, and I missed her dearly too in the dying parts of my life. I wanted to hold her one more time. I'm sure you have had this perception that my wife and I's marriage was filled with never-ending love, and love so true that it could never be disputed. I'm sorry, but that is not the whole truth. You see, when I met my wife, she did not catch my eye in the slightest. But I caught hers. I got to know her over time and we hung out sometimes, and over time I could tell she started to develop feelings for me. And I did too. She went from a woman I never thought I could form love with, to someone that I was interested in. And what sparked that was not her beauty, but that she was by far without a doubt the most kind-hearted and beautiful soul I have ever met in my life. I mean, she did things so beautiful I would tear up on the inside. When I met her first, she was broken and deeply traumatized by her horrible life. Despite this, she was so pure. Such a kind soul. I took to loving her over time, and a large reason of that was because she loved me more than I think anyone ever could. Every time I would see her, she would almost cry of happiness. She told me time and time again that I healed her. Throughout the years, my acts of love to her were never ending. But none of them were purely out of love for her. About 2 years into our relationship I realized I was never going to love her the way I am capable of loving someone deep down, but the way she showed me love was incomparable to anyone else I have ever experienced. I thought so long and so hard, and my decision was to spend my life with her. Spend my life not loving her the way I know I can deep down, and quite frankly not loving her romantically all that much. To me, she was my best friend who I loved to an extent romantically. But I did not love her as much as she loved me in that sense. And so I stayed. I decided that ultimately, her happiness matters way more to me than my own. So much more, that I was willing to uphold an artificial level of love for my entire life for her sake. She died happy, she lived happy, she was in love every day for her life, and my choice to mask my feelings made that happen. It was the ultimate sacrifice for me. The thing is, when we were old I could not imagine my life without her. She was a part of me, whether that was romantic love on the same level as hers or not. And when she died I was devastated. I had grown to love this woman so strongly, just not in a totally romantic sense, and I cared for her more than anyone could ever understand. Before you wonder, I did not cheat or ever be disloyal to her. I sacrificed my life to make her happy. Her soul was that beautiful. I truly have no regrets about anything that I did. Making her happy was my life's mission, and I succeeded. I cried a lot after reading that. My whole life was almost a lie. I wanted to be mad at my dad, but I couldn't be. He sacrificed his whole life to raise happy kids and to make a woman happy. But on the other side I'm so annoyed. Why did he have to leave this letter? I feel like I should show my sister it as she should know the truth. But her heart will break if I do. I really don't know what to do.